Most of the US population lives in massive cities, or at least somewhere near these massive cities. Local parks pull attendance from these populations, and unless it is a resort-style park, most everyday visitors are from the general area. In today's video, we are going to be taking the 15 most populated cities in the United States of America and name the best coaster for that city. Now, the way that we decide which coasters are allowed is pretty arbitrary. Let's say if you live in a city, we will pick through the closest couple of parks as long as it doesn't step its boundary into another city. For example, if you live in New York City, we will allow Great Adventure even though American Dream is closer, but Hershey Park is not allowed because that park pulls from Philadelphia instead. Hopefully that makes sense, but just know you're going to be realistic in the coasters that we choose. Starting off our list is Indianapolis. Now, Indianapolis does not have a park super close to it. It's going to be a bit of a drive and really anywhere that you are going. The most realistic options are Holiday World and Kentucky Kingdom. Now, Holiday World is pretty famous for their elite wooden coasters, and Kentucky Kingdom, well, Kentucky Kingdom is just Kentucky Kingdom. Now, Kentucky Kingdom has Storm Chaser and Lightning Run, but I feel like both of these coasters are just not good enough compared to what Holiday World can offer. Raven and Voyage are some of the best wooden coasters on the planet. Now, according to most people, Voyage is better, it has a handful of airtime, and it is relentless from first drop to final brake run. That combined with decently good maintenance on a wood coaster of this size, I mean, you have a recipe for success right there. So although it's a bit of a drive, Voyage is the best coaster servicing the Indianapolis area. Charlotte is up next, and this is a really straightforward pick. When you live in Charlotte, you basically have one park you can go to, and that is Carowinds. And Carowinds is an amazing home park to have. It has Fury 325, and it has Fury 325, and that about sums it up. Of course, there are other decent coasters like Copperhead Strike and Intimidator, but you literally have Fury 325 in your backyard. I think it's super safe to say that Fury wins the crown for the best coaster for Charlotte. I mean, it's super straightforward. A world-class B&M Giga definitely will take the crown pretty much anywhere you look. Next up is Columbus, which is a city I low-key forgot even existed, maybe because it's in Ohio. So when you look in the closest proximity of Columbus, you have the Columbus Zoo. There's a wood coaster here, but it can be shrugged off pretty easily. Now here's where the problems come. Cedar Point and Kings Island are like basically equal distance away from the city. Kings Island is like 45 minutes-ish closer, so that it would be the park for Columbus. Another thing to mention is that both of these parks service different cities. Kings Island is close to Cincinnati, and Cedar Point can pull guests from both Detroit and Cleveland. However, none of these other cities are on this list, so Columbus has a pretty good selection to choose from. From Kings Island alone, you have Mystic Timbers, Orion, and Diamondback, and the best coaster from that park can be widely debated. And from Cedar Point, you have Steel Vengeance, Maverick, Millennium Force, and like some other amazing coasters. Now there is a clear winner, even with all these options, and that is Steel Vengeance. There is a reason why Steel Vengeance was voted best coaster in the world over and over again. It's really good. Iron Gwazi may or may not be better, but that doesn't mean Steel Vengeance is suddenly irrelevant. Even though it's a bit of a drive from Columbus and not the closest park ever, Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point takes the win. The next city I was surprised was even on this list, and that is San Jose. I was even more surprised that San Francisco is not on this list, so there's your fun fact of the day. San Jose is more populated than San Francisco, though it is more spread out. So right in the middle of San Jose is a lovely park named California's Great America. Rest in peace. I had the chance to visit this park, so here are my thoughts on what the best coaster is. I mean, obviously the competition comes down to Railblazer or Gold Striker, and I honestly like Gold Striker more. I love the whip on Railblazer and the elite airtime, but it just feels so short to me. I also am not a huge fan of the Raptor model in general, and Gold Striker just gives off a more grand and complete ride experience, even if it is a little shaky. It's also worth mentioning that Discovery Kingdom is not too far away, and Joker is probably the best out of the three in my personal preferences, but I had to put a Great America coaster because it's like right in the middle of San Jose. Jacksonville is up next, and I have to say, there's not really a good selection. If you want to stay within a 1 hour radius of the city, then you only have a Wacky Worm, and that's literally it. However, we can push the boundaries like we did with Columbus and make it a 2 hour radius. With this larger circle, we can now include Wild Adventures, which is home to not one, but two terrible pieces of crap Vekomas. But if you go in the opposite direction for 2 hours, you reach the theme park capital of the world, Orlando. Now, Orlando is home to some of my favorite coasters: Cosmos Rewind, Hulk, Hagrid's, Velocicoaster. Now, out of these, there is a very clear winner. Velocicoaster combines an elite layout with world-class theming. I think it's very safe to say that if you live in Jacksonville, the easiest and best coaster to get to is Velocicoaster. Everything is bigger in Texas, and the same goes with populations. There are actually 6 cities from Texas on this list, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me. So just be prepared for a couple of Texas parks to come up in the next few segments, and this Texas takeover starts over with Austin. Now, Austin is really weird. It's in between Dallas and San Antonio and does not really have a park to call home. I mean, there are coasters at COTALAND being built, but they haven't even started on them. So if COTALAND was open, or if you want to count unbuilt coasters, Circuit Breaker is definitely the best coaster in Austin. However, it's not open. And the problem is, if you go north or south, you are stepping into the territories of San Antonio and Dallas, which are both on this list. As a compromise, we won't step too much into their territory, but just slightly go into San Antonio and say Switchback at ZTT's is the best coaster that is closest to Austin. Next up is Dallas and Fort Worth, which are two cities really close to each other that I just merged together because I felt like it, and they would have the same best coaster anyways. So this area really is serviced by one park, and that park is Six Flags Over Texas. Now, Six Flags Over Texas is not the best park ever. The options here are not really the best. I mean, you have Titan, Mr. Freeze, and New Texas Giant. Now, I love RMC, so New Texas Giant wins this one for me. I could see the argument for Mr. Freeze because Texas Giant is on the weaker side of iBox and Mr. Freeze is pretty forceful, but still, the original RMC wins the best coaster for Dallas and Fort Worth. Switching away from Texas for a hot second, we have the wonderful city of San Diego. I say wonderful because it's where I live. Besides having amazing weather and fire-ass California burritos, we don't have many good coasters. Without dipping into the Los Angeles territory, we are pretty limited with SeaWorld, Belmont Park, and Legoland. Now, the coasters at all these parks are pretty mid. I mean, they are good, but they are not a standout attraction or even close to it. Giant Dipper is way too rough, Emperor is just subpar, and Manta is okay. That said, Manta is by far the best coaster in San Diego, and you cannot change my mind on that. This mock family coaster has punchy launches and a good amount of airtime. That's the definition of a perfect family coaster layout and force-wise. I absolutely love Manta, and I think it's by far the best coaster in San Diego, and no, Emperor doesn't even come close. Going back to Texas, we have San Antonio. This area is home to two theme parks. You have Six Flags Fiesta Texas and SeaWorld San Antonio. Now, SeaWorld doesn't have much of a standout. You could make an argument for Texas Stingray, but I don't really see it. So the options come down to Six Flags. Now, the competition here really comes down between two RMCs, Iron Rattler and Wonder Woman. Having ridden the prototype Raptor clone, I am not the biggest fan, and I am a huge simp for iBox, and Iron Rattler is so unique, so I think it has enough of a case to make it the best coaster in San Antonio. Taking another quick break from Texas is Philadelphia. One of the closest parks to Philadelphia is Hershey Park, and honestly, we don't need to look at any park besides this one because it has an absolutely stacked lineup. There's Candemonium, Skyrush, and Wildcat's Revenge. Both Skyrush and Wildcat have a case for being the best, but like I said, I am a simp for iBox, and Wildcat's Revenge just looks so good, so it's the best coaster for Philadelphia. Phoenix is up next, and unfortunately we don't have a good coaster for this area. You have to drive 5 hours to get to any other theme park outside of this bubble, so we are stuck with the offerings in this city. When Mattel Adventure Park opens, Hot Wheels has a strong case for this trophy. We've all seen what Lightning Run can do, although I do think Hot Wheels will be significantly worse. The other option is a super janky Desert Storm, which pulls an insane amount of positive G's, and if you don't believe me, you could ask Flashwing. So Desert Storm wins here. Going back to Texas yet again, we have Houston. Now, Houston is not home to any major theme park chains, but there are a couple of good boardwalk parks. For one, there is Iron Shark, which is a pretty basic Gerstlauer Eurofighter with only lap bars. The other option is Boardwalk Bullet, which is a PTC masterpiece that does everything you would want a traditional wood coaster to do. Now, which one wins in a head-to-head? Well, Boardwalk Bullet does, and by a long shot. Now, before we get into our last three cities, here's a quick reminder to join the Discord. I love talking to y'all in there, and we are looking to make a pretty active community filled with enthusiasts, so join the Discord, link in the description. I hope to see you there. Starting off, our three most populated cities is Chicago. Chicago's main park is Six Flags Great America. You could make an argument for Indiana Beach, but there's nothing absolutely mind-blowing there anyways. At Great America, you have a lot of almost world-class coasters. There's Goliath, Max Force, and Raging Bull. Depending on the person, this can really go either way. I'm a big floater airtime fan, so I think I would really enjoy Raging Bull, even if it is one of the worst hypers. Max Force has super punchy launches, and Goliath has all the airtime in the world. Now, I'm still going to go with Goliath because it's RMC, but I think this could change with a visit to the park. Los Angeles is up next, and there are a lot of good parks to choose from. Knott has Ghost Rider, and Six Flags has a couple of good contenders. One thing I could tell you for sure is that when Hollywood Drift opens at Universal, it will be the best coaster for the LA area, and also the closest to the city center. I love Infinite Blitzes, and adding the spinning and turning it into a multi-dimensional coaster just looks absolutely insane. But it's not open yet, so we have to go back to Six Flags. Magic Mountain has one of the best coaster lineups in the world that is topped off by Twisted Colossus, X2, and Tatsu. Now, I love Twisted Colossus, and I stand by it being the best in the park, but I also really enjoy X2, and as much as I hate to admit it, it is objectively better, so we'll let that win for Los Angeles. Last but not least is the Big Apple, which is my favorite city on this list. I love New York City so much, and you cannot change my mind. Now, when going here, the closest park is probably American Dream. Coney Island is a bit more accessible with the subway system reaching there, but American Dream is closer. So you could say it's TMNT Shellraiser, but there is a park a couple of miles down the road that is absolutely elite. I will allow Six Flags Great Adventure to count towards New York and not Philadelphia because we went the other way in Philly, so Great Adventure is home to 3 good contenders: El Toro, Nitro, and King to Ka. Now when I visited this park, Six Flags was Six Flagging, and Nitro and Toro were closed, so I took a massive L and I moved on with my day. But El Toro is definitely the best coaster in this park and the best coaster in the New York area. Too bad I didn't ride it. So these are the best coasters for every major city in the US. Let me know if you like this video and if I should go farther down the list in the future upload. That's all for today's video, guys. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.